Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper, and today we have one of my favorite guests of all time, Dr. Roberto Olivardia, and we're going to talk about the impact of cannabis and marijuana on ADHD. Roberto, welcome to the video.
Oh, it's great to be here, Jeff, as always.
You know, cannabis, marijuana, it's becoming more of a buzzword in our society. People are turning to these things. I think there's a lot of misinformation. And a lot of people with ADHD, they take a look at it, they smoke this and they feel it. And there's that's an impact on ADHD, et cetera. Can you just tell us a little bit about some of this from your research?
Sure. So people with ADHD, that cannabis has a wide appeal to people with ADHD because it really can self-medicate a lot of symptoms of ADHD. People with ADHD will report that using cannabis can help them sleep, can help them focus, can sort of slow them down, might make them less impulsive. Now, all of those things may be true, and that doesn't mean it's good for them. And it doesn't necessarily make it a treatment for ADHD, because what we also know, and this is particularly true for developing brains and for an ADHD person that's really up until the age of 27 or 28, that use of cannabis actually has a neurological impact on the brain, and interestingly, on all the parts of the brain that are responsible for executive functions in a negative way. So meaning in the long term, it actually is associated with reduced concentration, reduced attention span, reduced ability to focus, reduced working memory, loss of IQ points, decreased inhibition. So all of the things that people with ADHD have trouble with, use of cannabis overall starts to degrade those things even further. So what might help in the short term is not helping them in the long term.
So I think that's really, really important to note, is that in the moment, it might feel one thing in the now, but long term, it can have more negative effects. Am I saying that correctly?
Absolutely.
One of the things that I remember years ago is that back in the 60s, smoking was really big. And I've talked to a lot of people, nicotine can actually help you focus and pay attention. And in one sense, I don't think there's a lot of research on this, but my sense is a lot of people self-medicated with that back then, because not only did you get the nicotine, but you got rewarded for higher level of performance in school and work because you were able to focus. However, the long-term impacts of smoking over a period of time has got some punitive type things. I'm just using that as a model to compare the two because, again, what you're hearing is that it will help in the short term, but it's got these more negative consequences. And part of our channel is really about educating people so they're aware of that. Agree?
Absolutely. I mean, nicotine, people with ADHD are more likely to be dependent on nicotine as well. And so again, I don't argue with my patients who say I'll smoke or I'll dip and I feel more focused. I'm not arguing with that. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. So nicotine's a perfect example of that, whether it's smoking, whether it's chewing tobacco, and the sort of delivery of the ways that nicotine is delivered. And it's also important too to understand, when we're talking about cannabis, we're not talking about the THC levels, which is a psychoactive substance that creates a lot of those symptoms. Is not the same as what we would see in the 1960s or 1970s. That even in the 1990s, the average THC level could be 3 to 4%. And now it could be 12 to 15% in a joint. But now with edibles, with vaporizing, ways you can sort of create substances that are 80% THC, which is really, I want people to think of as a different substance in the brain than when someone is smoking cannabis at a 3% THC level.
So just to kind of recap, the focus of the video is really some awareness. While it might feel good in the short term with anxiety, stuff like that, it actually has an impact on working memory. We've done a lot of videos on this channel on working memory. It's kind of thinking inside your brain towards a goal. And when that's really, really effortful, there's an emotional urge to escape. It looks like a focus problem, and it is, but the root is thinking, and it's having a negative impact on that. So it has a cascading effect, which it's okay in the moment, but not so long term. And the idea is really to educate the people so that they can make more conscious choice as opposed to just dealing with it now. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Roberto, thank you so much for coming on the show. For those that are new to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. We release a tip each week. For our regular listeners, comments, bring them on. I know that you guys have wanted these types of videos for a while. And for those that so be it, if you want to support our channel, just hit the thanks button. So with that, hope you've enjoyed this edition of Tension Talk Video. Take care.